If you ask somebody on the street, what does menopause mean to you? The chances are someone will say, oh, you know, a middle-aged woman, or somebody around the age of 51, they're having a hot flush. That is the tip of the menopause iceberg as far as I'm concerned, because there's so much more to menopause, and it's not just somebody who's that age. You know, it can affect different demographics. I was in my early 20s and I didn't even realise at that point that it was menopause. I wasn't even aware of what menopause was. You know, I'm going back sort of nearly 20 years here, and I'd unfortunately suffered an ectopic pregnancy. So all the symptoms that I was having, I just presumed it was because of my body going through the process of the ectopic pregnancy. When I eventually got diagnosed, I think I was about 33, 34. I'd gone for a coffee at work. I was in a coffee shop next door to work, and the consultant rung me, and they confirmed to me that not only had I been perimenopausal, and that's what all the symptoms were, but I was actually in the menopause. So when you watch a movie and you see the camera and like the whole world just implodes on that individual, that's exactly what happened to me. I just didn't understand. Menopause wasn't even anything that I'd ever thought about. So to be told that I was menopausal was a massive shock, especially at the age that I was at. The biggest one for me was the hot flushes, the night sweats. The night sweats where you wake up and you're just absolutely drenched, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. My periods were really erratic. Some months I didn't have a period at all. Other months my period was quite heavy. But then other symptoms, like my hair started to go really thin, and as a young woman, that's really quite emotionally traumatic. Because of these physical symptoms, I then started getting really severe anxiety. So it was almost like this snowball effect of physical symptoms, and then here comes the anxiety. Now I can deal with it and I learn how to control it, and I have coping mechanisms, and it doesn't really bother me that much anymore. But back then, because I was in this kind of world of the world of unknown, I just didn't know what was happening, so I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't have the mechanisms to deal with it, and that was the struggle for me. It was after I'd had my children that all these symptoms were exacerbated, and they were elevated to the point where the impact on my life was just huge at that point. And that's when I started to understand a bit more about my own body and try and understand about my own hormones to work out what was going on, which is why I then went to see a consultant about my hormones to understand what was going on in my body. And that's when I got the diagnosis of POI, which is premature ovarian insufficiency. So from a practical perspective, I take HRT. I appreciate not everybody can take HRT for various reasons. HRT for me, I called it my elixir of amazingness because it truly changed my life. That's not being dramatic, it's just a statement of fact. So practically I take HRT, I use an estrogel, which is transdermal, so it soaks into your skin really quickly, and then I take a progesterone tablet, and that works beautifully for me. People find their own ways of taking HRT. Exercise for me is huge. Exercise is my non-negotiable. My salsa dancing is my non-negotiable, physically and mentally. I think if you are keeping physically fit, then it helps you mentally. But also when you are going through the menopause and your hormones are depleted, and you're estrogen deficient, especially for a young woman going through the menopause like I did, things like bone health, muscle mass. So exercising to support your muscles is really, really important. Knowledge is power, right? So at the time, I didn't have the knowledge. I wasn't well read on menopause. So I suppose I was a bit naive to what was happening to me. And because I had lots of distractions and I had 2 young children, I kind of just pushed it to the back of my mind. But I do think now, looking back, had I have fought my corner a bit more, and had I have been more forceful with, you know, a clinician or, you know, a medical professional, had I have advocated for myself and been confident to advocate for myself, I probably would have got a diagnosis a lot sooner. And don't be afraid to just be really open and honest, because once you open up and share your story, what you'll find is that other people feel confident enough to do the same and feel like they're being validated as well. There's also an incredible charity called the Daisy Network, and they focus specifically on premature menopause. I so wish I'd have discovered the Daisy Network when I was going through what I went through. Good girl. You know your own body best. You are unique. And if you think something's wrong, go and ask for the help and support that you need. If you've just been diagnosed with early menopause, it's not the end of the world. I know at the time it feels catastrophic and your body is just not playing ball anymore. You feel like your body's let you down, and it has to a certain extent. But once you come to terms with what's happening to your body, and once you come to a level of acceptance, and once you understand and know how to help yourself, then you will thrive, because you have accepted what's happening to you and you'll learn to cope and adapt. And I think the other important thing to mention around early menopause as well, and I am very fortunate that I have 2 beautiful children, is early menopause can affect fertility. There is always a way to become a parent and become a mother. It might not be the most natural journey, but there is always options to become a mum and have children, you know, whether that's through IVF or egg donor or surrogacy or adoption. You know, let's celebrate hormones, because they're here to stay. They govern our whole lives, and there's always a way to turn it around and make it into a positive. And it's not just about struggling through, it's about feeling liberated and making the most of it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sam, a GP of over 20 years and the Women's Health Clinical Lead at Bupa. Throughout my career, I have always been interested in women's health, and I have specialised in this for many years now. I myself suffer with an early menopause, so I'm very passionate about speaking about this topic. So we use the term early menopause if it happens between the ages of 40 and 45, and we use the term premature menopause if it happens under the age of 40. Another term for this is premature ovarian insufficiency. It's different to the normal timing of menopause, it's happening a lot earlier, and therefore there are significant consequences of a woman experiencing lower hormones for longer. So they have a higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease, so heart disease and stroke and dementia, and also thinning of the bones, osteoporosis. So it's really important that women receive appropriate treatment. Symptoms of early menopause are the same therefore as typical menopause, so the hot flushes and the night sweats. Women may also suffer with their emotions, so they may feel more anxious about things, they may suffer with a lower mood too. They may not sleep as well at night and feel more fatigued, they may describe aching joints as well. So all the same symptoms that we experience with menopause, we may also see with early menopause. Early menopause is often overlooked or misdiagnosed just because it isn't as common as menopause, and there's a lot of misconception out there that it can't happen to younger women. So people may not put all the symptoms together and attribute this to hormones changing. So whilst we don't need to do any medical tests to prove it's menopause in older women, we do use tests in younger women to diagnose the menopause. This includes a hormone level called follicle stimulating hormone, which needs to be done. We would also do some other blood tests too, such as looking for thyroid disease, to exclude other medical conditions. My advice for someone diagnosed with an early or a premature menopause is that you're not becoming older before your time, that there is support available, and with the correct treatment, you will continue to thrive and to enjoy life.